welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a few products that I regret purchasing. My first item that I have here is kind of what made me think of what other items I might have in my collection. I was looking at this particular item and I'm like, I really regret buying you. And I'm like, there's probably a few more that I have in my collection. Granted, there aren't a lot just because when it comes to especially more expensive makeup, I like to try it out before I purchase it or really think about it and hear reviews and that sort of thing if I can't go in and look at it myself. If it's more affordable, usually it's not as big of a regret just because it's not a big waste of money. But there's kind of an even mix here of affordable and more expensive things that are here. But that being said, the first item that I have to share with you that I regret purchasing is this item that so many people love, and I caved to the peer pressure, and it wasn't even that long after it came out. I think it was like a month or two after it actually released, and this came into my collection. The Modern Renaissance. When this first came out, I mean, it looks pretty. Everyone's seen this palette. Everyone's heard people talk and rave about this palette. I don't need to keep holding it up so you know what it looks like. The Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is still a cult classic. Probably. Can you call it that? Probably. I mean, everyone loves this. And I mean, there's good reason. It's not a bad palette. I don't regret purchasing it because I don't like how it performs by any means. I love the shadows in here. I love how they work. My problem is when it first came out and I saw it and everyone was raving about it, I didn't pick it up right away, like the first week that it released, because I'm like, I don't really like the colors in that. You know, especially these berry ones here, this Venetian Red and Love Letter, those two were throwing me for the longest time. But even this Red Ochre and this Realgar one, those ones aren't ones that I use that often. She says, well, she has like red, pink, purpley eyeshadow on her eyes right now. I went out of my comfort zone today. I didn't use this. I used a different palette. Every time I have this palette in my rotation, I almost always gravitate to the other ones. I have to force myself to use this palette. And I love this half of the palette. I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's boring, but I'm like, oh, you can get pretty looks. I even like these two colors, and this isn't bad and this isn't bad. But like these 5 colors, they're throwing me every time I go to use it. That's all I see in this palette, and I regret getting it because when it first came out, that's all I saw. But because everyone was talking about how amazing it was, I'm like, everyone else loves those colors. I can love them too. I don't love them, and I don't use it that often. I force myself to use it. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm going to continue to force myself to use it because it's not a cheap palette. I mean, it's not the most expensive either, but it isn't cheap, and I want to keep using it and get my money out of it. And, you know, maybe I'll grow more from trying to use it and I'll appreciate the colors more in it, although I like the look I have going on right now, but I can't seem to pull that off with this particular palette. I don't know why. I usually don't like the looks I come up with when I use this palette, even though I always search on Instagram and Pinterest to find looks that I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm going to use that and do that on my eyes with this palette. It never works out. I never enjoy it. But like I said, I'm going to keep using it. But it is one of my biggest regrets that I have in my makeup collection. I wish I would have just gone with how I originally felt instead of being like, well, everybody else loves it, so I will too. No, you don't. The next 2 items I regret purchasing are this Revlon Volume and Length Magnified Waterproof Mascara, and this is a Maybelline Colossal Big Shot Base Primer, Tinted Primer. These aren't expensive by any means, so they aren't a regret because of that. They are a regret because Leia didn't read the packaging on it, and they both have fibers in them. And as great as they may be, Leia doesn't like fibers because they always end up in her eyes, especially if I have contacts. Fibers get in my eyes. It doesn't matter if I have my contacts in or not. For whatever reason, I always have bad luck with fibers and fiber mascaras. They get in my eyes. They don't work for me. I don't use them. If I get them in subscription boxes and I know they have fibers, I don't even open them. I give them away. These I specifically bought because I'm like, oh, a tinted primer by Maybelline. I'll try that out. Oh, this sounds like an interesting and promising waterproof mascara from Revlon. I'll try that out. And then I'm looking at them and I'm like, it looks kind of clumpy. And then I'm like, what the heck? Those are fibers. That's not clumps. And then I did the same thing with this. People might like fibers. I don't. So I regret buying these because I could have just not had them and wasted the money on them. But I regret buying these because I was stupid and I didn't read the packaging. Always read the packaging. The next item I have is another, well, it's a glitter palette and it's by IMagic. And I got this off of AliExpress, I think. And it is basically a, 16 pan palette of glitter. Don't mind the mess in it. It's been sitting in a box to kind of do this video with, and my 2-year-old got into it and played with it. Hence the well-used glitters. But I used these a couple times, some of the shades, because I thought these are going to be fantastic. And I don't know if me and glitter just don't get along, because these made my eyes so irritated. They were so scratchy and they hurt, and the glitter again got in my eyes. Even though I was using a glitter glue, it did not work well for me. I regret getting this because now I pretty much hate all glitter, and I find fault with all glitter. It doesn't matter if it's more expensive or cheaper. This has ruined glitter for me, and I regret having this. I regret using this because it hurt my eyes so bad. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't judge all glitter from this palette, but when I think of glitter, I think of my experience with this, and my eyes, it's not a pleasant experience. I just associate glitter with this now. And it's the next item that I regret purchasing is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. This was raved about. People loved it. And the reason why I regret purchasing this is because I did not go and shade match myself at the time of when I was buying it. It was in the winter time that I purchased it. And myself and Emily Noel, usually I find anything she's using, I can usually pull off the same shades, whether it's summer or winter. That being said, when she did her review of this, at least the one that I took the information from, it was summertime and I didn't think of that. And I purchased this in the winter time. So natural beige was not the right shade for me at the time. So I purchased this without going in and trying it, and then I kind of swatched it on my hand when I got it, and I'm like, oh, it's too dark, but it'll work for summertime. So I put it aside until the summer. And then I used it, and I don't enjoy the formula of this. I know a lot of people do, but for me personally, I don't enjoy it. The regret isn't the fact that I bought something that I don't enjoy. The regret is that I did not buy the right shade. I didn't go and get myself matched in store, and because I did that, I waited till the summertime to use it, and then it was too late for me to return it. Here in Canada, I think you have 90 days and maybe only 30 to return items that you purchase from Sephora. I know our return policy isn't as good as in the US, and that was well beyond. I think I had this for almost 6 months before I could actually had the coloring on my skin to pull this off. So I regret purchasing this because it's something I couldn't return after I tried it, and it's something I probably could have gone in store and gotten a sample of to try as well before I purchased it. So I was out the money for this. I think it was like $45 or $50, and I mean, I used part of it. I tried to make it work, but again, it's just one that I don't enjoy having on my skin. I don't like how it looks. So I do regret purchasing it because I didn't do my homework ahead of time and I bought the wrong shade, and then I couldn't return it. The last item that I regret purchasing should be a lesson to us all. Go with your gut. If something is too good to be true, it probably is. And I am talking here about an item that I purchased off of someone that worked with my husband. She says, whether she is or not, I don't know. I don't know if she's licensed or certified, but she said she's a makeup artist, and she said that she could get me this palette when it released, and a certain palette when it released. And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, it's only $30, and I'll show you. It was the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. So this is what it looks like. My husband was in communication with this woman because he worked with her, and she basically said she's a makeup artist and she gets things at pro discounts. So she was able to get this for $30 for me, and would I like to purchase one because she knew I do makeup and that I enjoy it and that sort of thing. In my gut, I'm like, it's gonna be a knockoff, Leia. Don't do it. But I gave her the benefit of the doubt, even though I went online and I searched up Urban Decay pro discounts and nothing came up. I found discounts for all kinds of other brands that pros can get. Urban Decay did not come up as one having pro discounts. Whether they do or not, I still don't know for sure, but it was getting more and more clear to me that my gut was probably right. But I still said, yeah, go ahead, let's get this. And so my husband brought it home for me, and it comes in this box, and it looks like the Urban Decay Naked Heat. It has all the writing on it. It's kind of embossed a bit. And I pulled it out, and this is what it looks like. It's this crappy plastic with a crappy sticker. And I just looked at it. I had never even seen the original in real life. I just knew as soon as I pulled it out of the package, out of this box, as I'm throwing it around. As soon as I pulled it out of the box, I knew. I'm like, it's a knockoff. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. I said, this is nothing like it. And then I opened it up. And again, my son has gotten a hold of this and played with it, so some of the shades are wrecked. But I'm like, the names aren't even on the palette. I said, and they don't look like this. The pans don't look like this. And the shades aren't even the same. Even like the darker ones, like they weren't in the right order and they didn't match. And he's like, well, no. He's like, I'm sure it's that. She said that's what it is. She wouldn't lie. And I'm like, So later that night we had to go to Shoppers Drug Mart for something, which is a Canadian drugstore here. And one that I went to happened to have a beauty boutique in it, which carries higher end makeup, and they happened to carry Urban Decay, and they had the Naked Heat palette, and I had this in my purse at the time, and I showed him. I'm like, look, this is what the actual palette looks like, because they had one on display, and I'm like, and this is what I have. And I opened it up and I showed him. I'm like, look at the difference. And then he saw it, and he started to believe me. So he goes to work the next day and he takes the palette with him, because I'm like, I'm not paying for this. It's a knockoff. I don't want a knockoff. She told me I was getting the real thing. So he went to work the next day, and I'm not sure if he flat out told her he wanted the money back or not, but she never offered it or anything. She just said, well, you know, the person that I get it from gets, you know, when companies are making these palettes, oftentimes things are a little bit wrong with them. So they just sell them to this guy and he sells them to me and everything. And she came home with this whole story about it. I'm like, no, Urban Decay does not do that. Urban Decay does not sell subpar products. Well, they might, but they'll do it as their whole general thing that they're putting out. They don't sell subpar products to makeup artists to use on the side to get a cheaper discount. They don't do that. That's not how a lot of the makeup industry works for things like this. So I'm like, then and there, I knew she got a knockoff. I don't know if she was making money off of it or if she actually paid the $30 for it, because in my opinion, $30 for a knockoff is way too much money. I know from experience how much they are because I used to buy them often. I used to think that was the way to grow my collection. I took them all out. I don't have any knockoffs anymore. I have dupes of products, which are from companies that have their own name on it with their own ingredients and everything listed. They might be taking a color story and using that, but they're using their formulas and they're using their ingredients. And I'll purchase things like that, but I won't buy knockoffs anymore. And one of the main reasons is because I don't know what the ingredients are, and I've seen too many scary things of products being tested, and you know, I'm just going to start investing in quality palettes or ones that I know and I can trust the brand. So I didn't want to keep this. She didn't offer to take it back. She didn't offer to give her money back or anything like that. So my husband felt bad, so he gave me the $30 back. So that regret was paid for. But at the same time, I really wish that I would have just gone with my gut and been like, you know what, if it's too good to be true, it probably... The other thing that concerns me, if she is doing makeup on other people and if she's using this palette or other ones that she's received, that just kind of concerns me a little bit, because there should be a little, somewhat of... People are paying you and they're putting their trust in you that you're using quality ingredients. Maybe you're using something from the drugstore and something that's inexpensive, but there's a certain quality control that goes on with that as well. Whereas when you're buying something that's a knockoff, that definitely is not the case. And go with your gut, Leia. Go with your gut. People watching this, don't buy it. I mean, if you buy knockoffs and you're okay with that, I'm not judging in any way. I'm just saying for myself personally, I've stopped doing it. And I really hope if you are doing makeup on other people that you are being considerate enough to not be using the knockoffs on them as well, because they aren't asking for that. Let me know in the comments below some of the items that you have purchased that you regret buying. Do you have any? Were they expensive? Were they affordable? What makeup regrets do you have? Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.